God blessings everybody, this is the Gaming Christian with yet again another video. Thank you so much for clicking on this. How's everybody doing, by the way? I hope everybody's doing super well. In this video I'm going to talk about the 100 best video games ever. This is in the same style as my other videos where I talk about the books I have. And I really, this was one of the books that I really wanted to do apart from my overall video game book collection. Because what we're gonna do, we're gonna check out every place. Please enjoy this video. And besides, if you miss a couple of games, this book was created, I think, in 2007. This was in a period when Oblivion came out. So you already can guess that it's in the beginning area of the Xbox 360. We're gonna, check every place. There are still some other top 10s and top 100s at the back of the book, smaller ones. But these are the top 100 best games ever created by Edge magazine. So if you think like, hey, I missed my game there. Edge is the more technical magazine. I mean, they judge games on a more technical point of view. The top 100 best video games ever has been done totally from a technical point of view because Edge is a really honest website, honest magazine, and not everybody likes it. They made a book, a collector's item book. It's a pretty huge one. Of course, in this book are also games that I have in my collection, so we'll dive right in. Of course, the cover is really nice. This is one of my more favorite covers of my game collection books. The nice letters, but you see all kind of reference to the games that are in, sprites of games that are, of characters that are in this book, that are part of the games. You have Mario. Why would Mario be in this top 100? I can already spoil that. You see Cloud. That's another spoiler over here. I'm not gonna talk anything more. This is just very cool. Okay, let's flip the page and see. There is some text over here. At the actually at the third page officially, there's a explanation of some sort. There's some text where they explain why they've made this book, what this book is. Of course, I'm not gonna read it, but it's sort of like an explanation. There's a lot of nice artwork in here, some artwork of the games that might be in this top 100. I was going to say flop, but these are absolutely the top. This is the contents. These are the games that are in this top 100, and these games are alphabetically. So this is not the official lineup. Yeah, these are alphabetic, so you can find them back. So let's get it started. At number 100, we have Crackdown. Of course, I'm not going to read everything, and I have the game myself. Crackdown is this really awesome GTA game. It is kind of like a stretch. Like, Crackdown truly surprised me because Crackdown is an excellent video game. Some well-made gameplay mechanics. It's truly amazing. I've already talked about this game in my Xbox 360 collection, but what you do in this game is that if you use your arms, if you use your strength a little bit more, you can get points. First, you have a lot of trouble lifting a garbage can, but later you can actually lift a bus. Of course, with running, the same kind of thing. I mean, first you don't run very fast, but later you run faster than the cars. And there are more certain things that this game has to offer. And it's technically a fantastic video game. All the games that are in this top 100 are technically fantastic video games. And maybe Crackdown isn't a number 100, but whatever. It is still a fantastic game and a contender, so maybe they didn't have a choice to put Crackdown in. So let's get to number 99. Next up is Psychonauts. Yes, for the PlayStation 2. It's another great underrated game. This game sold pretty poor when it came out. This game does not deserve it. I've already played it and I even finished it, and trust me, Psychonauts was a game that kept me going. Every world, every level you go to, the presentation, the humor. I mean, the humor is great in this game. Its ideas, its story, its gameplay overall, it's a fantastic game. This is absolutely, and I 100% disagree with Psychonauts being in this top 100. This is absolutely one of the best games ever. Only does, this is just a perfect game. Of course, I'm going to read, the thicker text. Around the nightmares, the tragedies, and the torment, there are some of the finest comedy dialogues in any game in history. Because the thing is, within this game, you go into somebody's mind and you can see their past, you can see their past and the things that happened. Seriously, some people, you can go into their minds and you can actually see what have they been going through, and some of them really had a horrible past. This is not for the youngest of childs. I mean, they don't curse, but there's some themes in this game that might be a little bit too misunderstanding for kids. At number 98 is a game I don't have. It's Sensible Soccer, a two-dimensional Pro Evolution Soccer. Maybe I'm a little bit overreacted. I was kind of surprised that this game was in this book. But yeah, actually, it kind of is a fantastic video game. Okay, let me just read the thicker text. Despite being ported to almost every console and computer, it never deviated from the purity of the original vision, finding new fans wherever it went. Yeah, this game is sort of like the two-dimensional Pro Evolution Soccer, like I already said. This game is amazing. I mean, it's two-dimensional. I mean, look up the internet if you want to know how Sensible Soccer looks like. Even though it doesn't look the part, it's a realistic soccer game who's two-dimensional. Fantastic. For its time, wonderful. But that's what Edge does. I mean, they always judge games on the time when it came out, and this is definitely the best two-dimensional soccer game ever created. Next up is another personal favorite of mine. I've played this game when I was a kid. I've already showed you that in my collection. It's Tekken 3, 97. Another great fighting game. Absolutely, Tekken is already a great fighting series with a lot of games that I really like. Tekken 3 is my absolute favorite. The thicker text is saying, as no stranger to the difference between dropping a coin in a slot and more than $40 on a daily CD, Namco's treatment of the home version was inspired. Yes, the home version of Tekken 3. And you know what? They sometimes have to choose, superior versions to the last games. Like, maybe Tekken 4 and 5 aren't as good as Part 3, but Tekken 6 came out years after this book, so maybe Tekken 6 could have made it. But Tekken 3 is definitely the best Tekken game ever created, and I'm glad that this game is just in it. Not because it's my personal favorite, but this is technically a great video game that's supposed to be in it. Number 96, it's Wipeout. I have two versions. I have Wipeout 2097 and Wipeout 3. I don't have the first Wipeout. I'm still looking for it. It's another great game where you use floating cards. It's just amazing. I'm gonna read the thick text. If you don't know what I mean with the thick text, you have a whole bunch of text here where they explain why, and you have the thicker text who was right here. So I'm almost reading that. I mean, instead of reading the whole darn thing. It may be unforgivingly hard, but that difficulty was an expression of the scope and skill of the vision for the game, not the result of lazy programming. This game is almost perfect. Some games are just perfect when they came out. Wipeout is actually one of the first games for the PlayStation 1. I'm not so sure if it was in the lineup, but it was pretty early. And actually Wipeout started the whole PlayStation 1 craze. So you could say that Wipeout has opened up the PlayStation 1 to the world. But yeah, Wipeout, a fantastic video game. It deserves to be in this top 100. Number 95 is another game I have. It's the first God of War. God of War is still a technical masterpiece. Not only does it look great, but the whole quick time events. Actually, God of War wasn't the first one, but the way it's been done, God of War was actually the first, and the way the whole hack and slash action went was pretty much unique in God of War. The whole world you walked in. This was an almost perfect game, and it brought something new, which inspired a lot of games to have. I mean, a lot of people might call, games that come out right now that are like God of War always put the link to God of War. But technically a great video game, and it deserves to be in this top 100 best games ever. Next up is a game I don't have. This is Guitaru Man, a PlayStation 2 title. It's a rhythm action game, and the thick text says, high scores are fiercely fought, and success at the master level of difficulty is one of those claims the fame that earns you instant, unquestioned respect. I have to be honest, Guitar Man is one of the fewer games I have never heard of. Well, I have heard of, but I had a Dutch magazine I sometimes bought, and there was a small review about Guitar Man, and it all got passed by for me. Maybe in Holland that was the case with this game, but it came back into the top 100, and it's supposed to be good. I haven't heard or read too much about this, and there's a certain song called The Legendary Song. I have no idea what do they mean with that. I should research it a little bit more, but if I stumble across a copy, I will definitely buy it. But Guitar Man for the PlayStation 2 at number 94. At number 93, it's another great series inside a series. This is Paper Mario: The Thousand Years Door for the GameCube in the Mario franchise. I mean, you know Mario has like a whole bunch of series made. That just explains how great Mario is. Paper Mario is absolutely one of the better games ever. There's not too much between them. I mean, it's like an RPG with great elements in them. But Paper Mario as a series is just great, and you have to pick. I mean, it's not like in this top 100 they don't pick more games from one series. I mean, sure they're gonna pick more Mario games, but not from other Mario series. So if you think like, hey, there's another Mario game in this top 100, it's because it's not the same as Paper Mario. So. But yeah, Paper Mario, definitely, and of course they're only going to choose one game per series. So, Paper Mario: The Thousand Years Door is supposedly the best Paper Mario, and it made it into the top 100 as number 93. Next up is another game I also have in my collection. It's the remake of Resident Evil for the GameCube. People, this is one of the most good-looking games I've ever seen. I've played a Xbox 360 game, and I wanted to choose a new game, and I chose Resident Evil, and I had to adapt. I played a standard Xbox 360 game, and then I played Resident Evil. I thought that I was still playing Xbox 360. It's that good looking. I'm not kidding. And overall, it's a remake of one of the best games ever, so if they had to choose, like a Resident Evil, they choose this game. But as a remake, this is maybe one of the best remakes ever created. I'm not joking. I really mean that. But it's just a great game overall. I mean, the first was already fantastic, but the remake is better, obviously, because it's on a new console. But it's just a delight. It looks great. I mean, the graphics are totally redone. Next up is also a game I don't have. It's Super Smash Bros. Melee. Of course, they had to pick a Super Smash game. It's on number 91. I forgot to say that. In the thick text they say, while it's a world away from scissor, paper, stone, the combat system places a strong emphasis on attacking and countering appropriately. This game, this fighting game, it's a party fighting game, has so much strategy to it, it's crazy. And Super Smash Bros. Melee, of course, Super Smash Bros. Brawl wasn't out yet at the time of this book. But, so this is actually the best Super Smash, and they had to choose one. I mean, the first one was already fantastically original, and Super Smash Bros. Melee actually made it just better. So, yeah. Next up is a game I personally don't want anything to do with. It's Devil May Cry. The game is too satanic for me. That doesn't really mean it's a technically bad game. It's absolutely fantastic if you like this type of game. I totally understand. I mean, the thick text is saying, Poster Boy Dante puts both the bad and the ass back into badass. A high school jock does cabaret act with one-liners that should sap his life bar. From what they're saying, Dante is one of the most awesome, most best characters in the history of video games. But the overall gameplay of this game is also fantastic. I've played this years back. And it's a fantastic game overall with Spawn a series. It's just a great franchise, Devil May Cry. And the first one is definitely the best one in the series, obviously. I mean, it's totally changed. But it's also kind of like a new type of playing. This is just a great, great, great game. And the way they mixed adventure and action together is just wonderfully done. At number 89, I already have a copy of that game. It's Tomb Raider for the PlayStation 1. 89. Well, what can I say about this game? Well, I think a lot of people don't really like this game because of its controls, because the controls are. But what makes this game great is the adventure you have and the level design. It is fantastic, especially for its day. Sure, it looks great, but alright, the thick text is saying, the game would unapologetically punish those who leapt before looking. Tomb Raider may not be chess, but it's not Sonic the Hedgehog either. Really? Sorry, some words I really have no idea how I should announce that. It's just a great game. You have tombs to go through. Like I'm saying, the level design is absolutely the best thing in the whole game. Of course, the overall gameplay is fantastic too. But, you know, like I'm saying, the controls are... But for back in the day, I think people are a lot more forgiven. So yeah. Next up is number 88. It is Sega Rally. But this is the arcade version of Sega Rally. Sega Rally Championship. Yeah, I have the Saturn version, which is actually the best version of this game. I haven't showed my Sega Saturn collection yet, but I will show you that in the end of the year when I'm going to do a update collection video. But for now, we have Sega Rally Championship on number 88, the arcade version. It's one of the better racing games ever created. Of course, that's debatable, but it's certainly a contender for the top 10 best racing games ever, still. The thick text is saying, Sega's game might not have been aiming for realism, but it nevertheless did an enormous amount to promote the idea of rallying within video games. You could say that this might be the first rally game on consoles. This is maybe the first rally game ever. Yeah, that's what it says here. Amazing. I really would say, I mean, I'm not a racing game fan, but, you know, this game, I would say that this is a technically fantastic game. It deserves to be in the top 100. Next up is a game I don't have. It's Mr. Driller for the GameCube. Yes, it's sort of like a puzzle game. I've never played it. I've saw a screenshot, obviously. I never heard of this game until I bought this book. And this game, Mr. Driller feels... He doesn't really look like Bomberman, but he reminds me of Bomberman. And he's a super cute character. It's like a puzzle game where you need to drill down certain blocks. Check out the internet if you want to know how it looks like. But it's just an amazing game, even though I've never played. From what I've seen, it seems like a very addictive game. I can't really tell you too much about it. The thick text is reading. Burrowing a crazed and furious path down through the rock below, racing deeper and rapidly expiring while under the constant threat of being crushed. It's like Dig Dug, but not as Dig Dug. You cannot, pump enemies and blow them up. You only have blocks to destroy and make them into series so you can get points. At number 86, we have Outrun 2006, Coast to Coast. For the Xbox, but they're also for other consoles. Maybe there's also the maybe there's also an arcade version. I have the game right here, Outrun 2. Actually, yeah, it is Outrun 2. This is actually an absolutely amazing game. Of course, this game is in it, but it's also reference to the first Outrun for the Mega Drive. Of course, if this game didn't exist, the first Outrun would have put into this top 100. But Outrun 2 is definitely a great sequel to the first Outrun, which is also an excellent video game. I'm still looking for a copy, by the way. The thick text is reading, the thing that rendered the reimagined Outrun almost impossibly entertaining was the power slide. There are few things more satisfying in video games. Yeah, that's what they actually say, and what can I say? It's like the first Outrun. Fantastic. At number 85, we have Silent Hill 2. I've already showed you guys this in my collection. Obviously, every game that I have here, I've already showed you my collection. Silent Hill 2, number 85. It's another great video game with nice graphics, great gameplay, but it's also the story which really made this game apart. Of course, this is a much better game than the first one. The first one felt maybe a bit frustrating, but part 2 totally did it right. And of course, in PlayStation 2 graphics, it's just an amazing game. The thicker text is reading, like the horror films that inspired it, both visually and thematically. Silent Hill 2 is enigmatic and terrifying and as complicated as you want it to be. So yeah, Silent Hill 2, a great video game. I've played it, I even finished it. Great game, maybe one of the best horror games ever created. The atmosphere, everything is done perfectly. And the mist, the town, wonderful. And of course the story. At number 84 we have Phantasy Star Online for the Dreamcast. Yes, it's the first consoleized MMORPG. No, not really consoleized, just the first console MMORPG. It's for the Dreamcast, and it worked just as well. This is a fantastic game because you would expect, like back in the day when consoles started with the whole online function. It wasn't really all that huge, you know, but Phantasy Star Online worked pretty well, and it was pretty popular, and it was, you know, people liked it anyway. The thick text is saying, although online RPGs now routinely make use of instanced areas, Sega's game was one of the early pioneers, creating an unparalleled sense of intimacy. So my English isn't all that terrible just yet. You can also play single player, obviously. It's a fantastic game to have. I will never play it. I mean, it's more about the online functions that this game is to offer. But yeah, I've already played it, and it's all about the online functions why this game is in the top 100 best games ever. At number 83 is also a game I don't have. It's Nights into Dreams for the Sega Saturn. The thick text is saying, its originality was never in dispute. No one could quite pin it to a genre. It was a platformer without any platforms, a shoot 'em up without any bullets. That's right, this is a very original game. People that are playing it right now, and have heard of this game as being one of the best games ever, they can understand it because they're not very good at it and they can't really admit it. Nah, I'm just kidding. But like I'm saying, you know, this game is really an original game. A lot of these games have a lot of originality that are in this top 100, and Nights into Dreams is absolutely one of them. It's just a wonderful game, and maybe it's not your cup of tea, but technically speaking, it is one of the best games ever. At number 82, we have a classic. I don't have a copy of this game either. Lemmings. Yes. How is it top 100 best video games ever without Lemmings? I mean, come on, seriously. I mean, almost everybody know this game. It's for the various platforms. The thick text is saying, who didn't feel pity when they first heard a lemming squeak, oh no, before exploding? And who didn't then crackle while setting the entire lot to nuke? It is truly what makes this game great, is its challenge, its idea, its originality. It's just a great, simple game. Wonderful. I've played it back in the day. I mean, who hasn't played Lemmings as a gamer? It's just an amazing game. There's tons of versions, tons of sequels. They haven't made a Lemmings in years now. Maybe online there are Lemmings games. But for now, we have to do it with the original Lemmings, and the idea was just astonishing. How original and how great it all was. I mean, the way every Lemmings is just like brainless people, and you tell one Lemmings to do something and he will do it, and on that way you have to complete a level. Amazing. Next up is a game I discovered because of this book. I never heard of it until this book. This is Robotron 2084, the arcade version, number 81. The thick text is reading, after the first couple of easy peasy introductory levels, every level of Robotron's capable of taking a life or two of the most seasoned players. This game is challenging. What did this game new was, you have like two joysticks. That is your only control scheme. With the left joystick you control, and with the right joystick you shoot. This is actually the first game that did that. There's a whole bunch of games that did the same kind of thing, but as an arcade game, it is truly challenging. There's so much challenge into this game, and the whole control scheme is just well thought out. Number 81, Robotron 2084. Next up is also a game I don't have in my collection. It's Virtua Tennis 3. The thick text is reading, from Tim Henman's Rabbit Caught in a Headlight, expressions to Maria Sharapova's luscious golden locks. Players are almost threateningly lifelike. Yeah, first of all, this is a game for the various consoles, you know, Xbox, PlayStation 2. Not only does the game look fantastic, it is also the best Virtua Tennis. You know, it's back in the day. I'm not sure if Virtua Tennis 4 already was out. I don't know for sure, but this is supposed to be the best Virtua Tennis in the series, and it's also one of the best tennis games ever created. Amazing. For the next game, it's number 79, The Secret of Monkey Island. One of the best point-and-click adventures ever created. There's been a ton of point-and-click adventures that did a fantastic job. The thick text is saying, creator Ron Gilbert noted that it was the composition of arbitrary rules necessary to control the player that pierced the diorama to reveal the COG's S. I forgot to say the S. Wow, this is an amazing point-and-click adventure. Not only does it look great for its time, it's just a funny game with great puzzles, and like I'm saying, it's maybe one of the best point-and-click adventures ever created. Even though that's quite debatable. You have A Day of the Tentacle, Sam and Max, Maniac Mansion, Myst, obviously. But The Secret of Monkey Island, if you have to choose a point-and-click adventure that's supposed to be in this list, it's definitely The Secret of Monkey Island. Great game. It's the first one, and it has just a great series overall. Alright, at number 78 is a game I personally don't want to have in my collection. It's Doom 2 Hell on Earth. What can I say about Doom 2? I really want to say this to you guys. Technically speaking, a great game. Don't get me wrong, Doom is a wonderful series. I mean, every part is just fantastic. Doom 1 was good, Doom 2 was even better, and Doom 3 was, of course, new 3D, great graphics. But it is absolutely, it's not for me because it's too satanic for my taste. That's why I don't want anything to do with it. But technically speaking, great game overall. And the thick text is saying, ID Software, the market leader, was just screwing around, trying whatever it felt like, with no art direction or producers in a normal sense. But yeah, everybody's talking about Doom 1 a lot of times. But from what I believe here is that Doom 2 is better. For the PC, by the way, obviously. Number 77 might not be a game that you might know. It's Football Manager 2007. I'm a huge fan of one soccer manager, or football manager, whatever you want to call it. I played at one and I understand. I don't think not everybody will understand that this game is in the top 100 best games ever. I really have to defend Edge. Maybe I defend Edge a little bit too much, but Edge is like this magazine who doesn't care about the opinion of the people. No, they just judge the game for what they are. Only because you don't think a game is to your liking doesn't mean the game is bad. I mean, a lot of people don't really get that. And Football Manager 2007, maybe it is not the best game ever. I don't know. But they have to put a Football Manager in here anyway. And maybe it is a little bit overreacted to put the newest, because Football Manager 2007 is of course from the year 2006-07. So obviously they picked out the newest Football Manager. Football Manager 2007 is absolutely, just a sequel, and it's not all that much different from 2006 and 2005, but they had to put in a Football Manager because Football Managers are always very deep. It goes extremely deep. You can take care of so many things, and that is probably the reason why Football Manager is in this list. I'm gonna read what is in the text. The revelations comes as you impose yourself. Seeing a player you've signed make a difference, or changing a match with a tactical switch. This game is highly challenging, but it has a lot of tactics in it, a lot of brain work. A great series, but I guess that this game is just as good as the other one, but maybe even a little bit better. Maybe a few things have been improved, maybe a few things have been edited. Number 76 is also a game I don't have in my collection. It's Ikaruga for the GameCube. It's extremely hard. It's one of the better shmups, but this game will take care of you. Will make you a man. Trust me. The thick text is saying, the merciless bullet hells of the vertical shmup lost favor long before Gradius 5 and R-Type Final drew the high watermark of the horizontal shooter. Ikaruga. What makes this game differently is they fire blue and red bullets. There's a certain button where you can make yourself into with a red shield, so you can absorb the red bullets. There's a lot of bullets coming at you, but there's also a bullet where you can have blue around you, where you can absorb the blue bullets. And of course you can shoot, but you can also think about that. Like, the game gets even more challenging when you need to think about that. Like, oh, I need to change it to the blue color, or I need to change it to the red color. Whoa. And this game is fantastically challenging. Next up is number 75. This is Burnout 2 Point of Impact. Yes, this game, it's all about the crashes. The thick text is saying, like the kudos points of MSR, Burnout 2's multiplier pushes you to drive those game's reflexes into the ground, though preferably not the wall. Well, you know, who doesn't know Burnout? Burnout is just a great series. But it's all about the crashes, and this game, how it does with its points and how it does with its crashes, with its presentation, it's just wonderfully done. Of course, you have your standard races, but what I personally like is the crash mode, where you can just create a crash and there are cars coming and you can, you know, make more points, and then you can come into a list. Burnout 2 is just amazing. At number 74, we have a PC game. It's 74. Thief the Dark Project. This is just an amazing game. It's sort of like the thick text is saying, Thief was such a powerful concept that it shaped a generation of gaming and invented much of what we see as stealth tactics in video games today. Actually, this isn't technically the first sneak games, but this game has perfected it. The whole sneaking business, the whole, you know, what can I say, the whole, you know, assassination thing. This game is just fantastic in the whole stealth aspect of video games. Amazing. Thief the Dark Project, an amazing game, and it has a huge fan base, and that's for a good reason. Number 73 is Puzzle Bobble. Yes, remember the game with the thing on the bottom where you can shoot balloons to other balloons? This is that game. It's a puzzle game, obviously, and you only need like 3 buttons for the whole game: left, right, and a button to shoot the bubble. Amazing. The thick text is saying, in synopsis, Puzzle Bobble is a wonderfully straightforward, requiring just the arcade stick and a single fire button to play. This game is simple yet deep. Wonderful. This game is just amazing. This is seriously addictive. It's not as, of course, it's not as violent. So what? The game has fantastic gameplay and it stands on itself. How it all is. It's just an amazing game. This game is just amazing. It's very simple. It's the arcade version, by the way. But that's because, you know, you only need like 3 buttons, or the stick and 1 button. That's all you needed in the game. But that's why it's just so great. I mean, it's difficult to master, easy to understand, and this game is maybe one of the better games of it. Next up is number 72. This is Killer 7, a game I have in my collection. A very underrated game. The reason why people has highly underrated this game is because it's just too weird. Yeah, you know, a game isn't technically bad because it's too weird. I really don't get it how people judge games. It's like, oh, the game is too weird. Let's give it a low rating. But I've already talked about it in my GameCube collection video. The thick text is saying, pitch black but endlessly playful, always visceral but never predictable. It's an experience whose bones few gamers will be able to pick clean. This game is weird. This game might not be for you. I totally understand, but the game has everything covered. It has a fantastic story and great gameplay overall. Challenging, presentation is wonderful, and it's just so amazing. A highly underrated game, only because it's too weird. Number 71 is also a game I don't have in my collection. It's the game for the Xbox, maybe one of the best Xbox games ever created. It is Ninja Gaiden Black. The thick text is saying, at its core, it's just a simple test of reaction time. To gain the foothold in its fights, all you need to know are the trio of block, roll, and attack. This game is easy to understand, but difficult to master. I've played the first one. The first one was already fantastic. It's not really my cup of tea, but technically amazing. Ninja Gaiden Black. I'm not so sure I think it's a sequel, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. It's probably the sequel to the first Ninja Gaiden, or maybe this is the first Ninja Gaiden. I don't know. It is so amazingly done, from the controls to the difficulty to the graphics. The graphics were amazing. I know the Xbox could do that. That's why it didn't came out for the PlayStation 2. But yeah, the Xbox was just so amazingly done. And Ninja Gaiden Black is definitely a game that should be in the top 100 best games ever. Number 7, I don't have a copy of that game either. I'm looking at my collection. I'm very sad. It's Ridge Racers 2 at number 7 for the PSP. This is not the only PSP game in this list. Unbelievable. What can I say? It's Ridge Racers. Obviously. I mean, Ridge Racer was already a classic, and Ridge Racers 2 is just as great. I haven't played it though. The thick text is saying, all that matters from the rich universe, the precision engineering menus, the great tunes, the art of perpendicular cornering is here. This game is of course all about the drifting. And this game has that. Of course you have like a tons of cars. The game look great and the PSP version is just fantastic. At number 69 is a game I have, thank goodness. It is Pilot Wings 64. I've already talked about this. Of course, of all the games I have in my collection, I've already talked about this, so I don't really need to I don't need to say anything more. Pilot Wings 64 is a very amazing game for the Nintendo 64. The thick text is saying, it's still all too rare to find a game that soothes, that offers calm beauty and gentle soundscapes, and refrains from ticking loudly down to zero. Like I said in my N64 collection video, it's like a GTA in the sky. Wonderful. Of course, this is like a sequel to Pilot Wings for the Super Nintendo. Pilot Wings 64 is a great sequel, but it just has gameplay. I can tell you like a million times it has great gameplay. I'm going to say that with every game there is. But, you know, like I'm saying, it just is. Every game in this list is just fantastic. There isn't too much to say, actually. Just wonderful. Next up is number 68 is GTR Via GT Racing Game 2. Yes, it's another racing game. I don't have too much with racing games. The thick text is saying, it doesn't flatter the player. Any triumph, great or small, is the result of proficiency that could be transposed to an actual race-prepared car. I haven't heard too much about this game, and I haven't seen too much about this game. It's for the PC. You can make your car into the ultimate machines. It's like a simulation game. This game is like a fantastic racing simulation game with upgrades for your car and stuff like that, so you can make your ultimate car. Amazing. At number 67 we have a downloadable game for the Xbox Live. It's an Xbox 360 game, the first one. The second one, actually, Crackdown was also an Xbox 360 game. It's Geometry Wars Retro Involved. Yeah, with the same idea as Robotron. You just, with the left stick you run around and with the right stick you shoot. And this game has a lot of flashy colors. This game looks great. It is maybe one of the best Xbox Live games ever. The thick text is saying, it's simple and yet it leads to astonishingly complex results that make the most hardcore bullet hell shooters look rather quaint by comparison. This game is hard, but it's fair hard. Geometry Wars, I was kind of surprised about that this game was in this book, but obviously it's a great game, so why not, you know? Number 66, we have F-Zero GX for the GameCube. Another extremely hard game. I guess they like that at Edge. The thick text is saying, the craft quaintly reminiscent of the low poly pastel models born over previous generations' technology, handled just as they did on the N64. This game is like the sequel to the Nintendo 64 game. This game is just like Wipeout, fantastic. Maybe this game is even better than Wipeout. Wonderful game. What can I say? It's F-Zero GX. At number 65, there is Darwinia for the PC. I have never heard of this game. I've never played it until I bought this Top 100. And this Top 100 has given me knowledge about more games. Darwinia is one of them. The thick text is saying, despite all the digital counterculture reference points, the most iconic image in Darwinia is original. the simple boxy stick figure of the Darwinians itself. I think it's like an RTS, but like I'm saying, I haven't checked out all the games that are in this book. So Darwinia is one of them, but it's a number 65, and I think what people like is its simplicity of this game. At number 64, there is System Shock for the PC. This game is like a survival horror in space. Your biggest enemy is the ship itself. It's amazing. It's very creepy. The thing is, you stumble across certain memos that actually explains the history of the ship, the people that were on it. It's just amazing. What makes this game great is its level design, is its gameplay that evolves around it. Just amazing. At number 63 for the PSP, this is the second PSP game that is in the list. It's Luminous Puzzle Fusion. Yes, for the PSP. PSP has created a bunch of good games. And Luminous, what is absolutely great about Luminous is that it's a Tetris clone, but with its own flavor. Yes. And if you are a Tetris clone, and if you are original, you are just amazing. And you might say that, oh, Tetris clones aren't original. Well, this one kind of is. Of course, obviously, check out the gameplay footages of this game. The thick text is saying, not afraid to shape its design to fit in alongside Tetris, Luminous has carved out a space for itself that other puzzlers would kill for. Exactly. This is one of the best puzzle games ever created, because it looks like Tetris, but it's not Tetris. So it's an amazing game, and it's like there's great music in it. Amazing Luminous. At number 62, Jet Set Radio Future. I have the Dreamcast version. I do not have the Xbox version of Jet Set Radio Future. I have the first one, not the Jet Set Radio Future. And it's, from what I understand, it's the first shell-shaded game ever created. The first one, of course. The Xbox version is, of course, an improved version of that game. And the thick text is saying, willfully bucking the inexorable march towards photorealism, the game depicts a futuristic Tokyo as a shell-shaded neon jungle of conjugal motion. Yeah, the game is just amazing in terms of gameplay. You can also, paint some graffiti on walls, on hard-to-reach places. The level design was just already fantastic, even in part 1. But it's all about the controls, and I think the Xbox version was better because of the extra stick you had, but the Dreamcast only had like one, stick. So, thumbstick. So, that's actually kind of a pity, but the Xbox version, this is like a sequel, so this one is better, of course, than the first one. At number 61, there is Manhunt for the PlayStation 2. Okay, this game is one of the games I don't get why this game is in the top 100. The thick text is saying, while the game ends with the predictable toppling of Stark Weather's grisly regime, it's never in the name of justice, only survival. So it's more like a survival game, and maybe on that terms, it's actually pretty well done. But Manhunt, it feels like a standard sneak game where you have to, kill people that you have to get by with. I mean, you're like this guy who made crimes and you're dropped into the city and you just have to survive. And maybe in that term, survival, it is actually a pretty well done game, but I personally don't get it all that well, but, At number 60, we have Pac-Man Versus for the Game Boy Advance / Game Boy Color. I mean, seriously, this is a top 100 book. Okay, this is a book for the top 100. You have to put Pac-Man in. Doesn't matter what kind of version. Well, it matters what kind of version, because there's a lot of, bad Pac-Man games, like for the Atari 2600. Just to name one, that's maybe the worst Pac-Man game ever. You have to put a Pac-Man game in, because there's a lot of great Pac-Man games. Like you have Pac-Man for the arcades, which is, of course, the startup. You have, of course, Pac-Man for the NES. You have the Tengen version of Pac-Man. Don't forget MS Pac-Man for the Atari 2600. That is one of the best Pac-Man games ever created. But they choose Pac-Man Versus for the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color. This is sort of like a package. And of course the original is included in this game with so much more. So actually, this is like a Pac-Man compilation cartridge with more Pac-Man stuff. So what is better than just one Pac-Man? All kinds of Pac-Mans bundled into one thing. I've never played this game. Of course, I read about it a little bit, especially because of this book. But of course, who hasn't heard of the first Pac-Man? I mean, seriously. At number 59, we have Star Fox 64, also named Lilith Wars. For the Nintendo 64, obviously, they had to put in a Star Fox game. Because the first one was already fantastic, so that game could also easily be in this book. But they choose the 64 version, which is also an excellent video game. I have played it though, the Nintendo 64 version, but I don't have a real copy of it, or else I would have showed you that. But Star Fox 64 Lilith Wars is an excellent video game that has to be in this book. And trust me, the level design, the graphics, its presentation, it's just an amazing game. And don't forget, of course, the Super Nintendo version. But like I've said in the beginning of this video, they had to choose one game in this whole series, and they chose Star Fox 64. At number 58, we have Tempest 2000 for the Jaguar. Maybe you didn't expect this game, maybe you did. Maybe you know this game, but you didn't expect it. Maybe you never heard of it. Trust me, I have heard of a game called Tempest, but that's all there is to know. I've never heard of a game called Tempest 2000, and I never knew it was for the Jaguar, and I never knew it was so good. I've never played it myself. I saw some images here and there. But the whole premise of this game is like shown into this book. You have a pipe going down, and at the top of the pipe you have some sort of a yellow claw type thing, and it shoots down, and while you're shooting down, enemies go up, by sticking to the pipe. Look for screenshots online if you really truly want to see what kind of game Tempest 2000 is, but overall it's a very addictive game. It's like an amazing puzzle shooter. Yeah. But I've never played it myself, so I don't know too much of this game. And of course, like all the good puzzle shooters, it's hard. Hard doesn't have to be a bad thing, as long as if it's done fair. And the controls are so responsive, at least that's what I've read about this. The controls are so responsive that this game is automatically a fantastic video game. But the whole premise is also pretty original as well. At number 57, we have a Dreamcast game. It's Soul Calibur. Yes, I've played this game. Of course, I played Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4 before this. So, I don't know, playing this, if you played the newer ones, it's not as special anymore. You cannot create your own character in Soul Calibur. But it doesn't mean it's a bad game. Technically, like I said, it is also one of the best games ever. Of course, Part 2, Part 3 are also fantastic, but they've chosen Part 1. Remember, this book was before 2007, so Soul Calibur 4 could not have made a chance, but Part 3 could have made a chance. And from what I don't understand is that they chose Soul Calibur, the first one. But what makes this game so fantastic is how perfect it is. It's a perfect fighting game with perfect controls, with perfect graphics, with perfect character design, with lots of modes. Of course, the sequels were better, bigger, but not much better, and that would make Soul Calibur one of the best Dreamcast games ever created. Of course, there's a whole bunch of Dreamcast games that are fantastic, but Soul Calibur is absolutely one of the best, and that says a lot. And it's also one of the best fighting games. Of course, we already saw Tekken 3. Obviously, Street Fighter 2 will be in here. Number 56, we have Guitar Hero for the PlayStation 2, obviously. Of course, the whole control scheme was pretty much new. This was one of the more popular, more amazing rhythm action video games in the history of video games. It spawned many versions. It has its own controller, and it's extremely challenging. That's what makes this game a good rhythm action game. Is challenging but fair. Guitar Hero, of course, on higher difficulties, it feels a little bit unfair, but on a normal difficulty, it feels fair. It's extremely challenging, and a controller that goes with the Guitar Hero game is also a revolution in rhythm action video games. It's like you're playing a real guitar, and it's also, challenging like normal rhythm action game, but it also looks great, and the whole idea is astonishing. It's an amazing, amazing game. And the way it's done, you actually feel like that you're playing the old rock classics with this great controller, and there's also this great video game. At number 55, we have a PC classic that people still plays. It is Counter-Strike for the PC. I'm not very sure. No, this isn't the first online game. This isn't the first online shooter. There are still a lot of people that still plays this game, even to this day. Counter-Strike is still a very popular shooter, and you can still buy it on a PC. You can still buy it as a PC game, whatever. This game was created by someone who did this as a hobby. He put it up for free, and it got extremely popular. There was a company that bought it. All of a sudden, you had to pay for it, and nobody played it anymore. Then they just kept it for free, and everybody kept on playing it. It was simply amazing. Counter-Strike is really an achievement in gaming history because, you know, it's like one of those. It doesn't have. You don't need to have a huge team to create an amazing game. But not only that, the maps are well done. The controls are just what it needs to be. There are tons of weapons. It's just an amazing game. This is definitely maybe the best online shooter ever created. Of course, it's no Call of Duty, but Counter-Strike is like the granddaddy, and it still sits on its throne of online shooters. I really mean that. Trust me, there's a lot of great online shooters, you know. At number 54, we have an SNES RPG, another classic, another great game. It's Chrono Trigger. Yes, a game I personally played. I don't have the game, too bad, it's way too expensive. A game I've personally played on a ROM, so I have played it, not in the original version. It's your typical Square Enix RPG. Squaresoft for back in the day. Squaresoft has made some of the best RPGs, and Chrono Trigger is one of them. They were the masters in the Super Nintendo area and in the PlayStation 1 area. They were the masters of RPGs, and besides them, there weren't many people that could create good RPGs. So Chrono Trigger is actually, you know, one of the better ones. Not only did it look great, it's surpassed most RPGs still to this day. It's a two-dimensional RPG, but it's like a good game ages very well. And Chrono Trigger is one of those games. There are tons of characters to be found. You can train all of them. It's Chrono Trigger, so actually there's a timeline to be done. Choices you've made in the game will come back in the game later. Next up is a game I have in my own collection. It is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 for the PlayStation 1. A game, of course, that is a lot better than its first game. This is a fantastic sequel. And even though Part 3 was great, and Part 4 and all the sequels that came after that, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 is almost unsurpassed. For 2007, when this book came out, it was the best skateboard game ever created. There were a ton of skateboard games that came out, but there was no game that was better than Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Sure, it's a personal favorite of mine, but technically speaking, it truly is so. Not only does the controls work, there are tons of things to do. You can create your own skater, you can choose other famous skaters, you can choose Tony Hawk himself. I think Tony Hawk got a little bit more famous here in Holland because of this game. Because before Part 1, I've never heard of Tony Hawk, but he was supposed to be the best skater in the world. So yeah, I was kind of like, okay, you know. And Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 was better. So Part 1 was already good, but the control scheme was so new. I mean, it was hard to make a good skateboard game, and this was developed, I don't know who developed this. Oh, wait a minute. Neversoft. Neversoft has created one of the best skateboard games ever created on any system whatsoever. At number 52 is another game I have in my collection. This is Disgaea, I don't know how you pronounce it. Hour of Darkness, a game I have in my own collection. I don't need to tell you too much about it because I've already talked about this game in my PlayStation 2 collection. It's one of the best tactical RPGs ever created. You have a whole bunch of great tactical RPGs like Tactics Ogre. You have Fire Emblem, just to name a few fantastic tactical RPGs. But Disgaea Hour of Darkness is at least one of the best ones in history, because not only is it just a great tactical RPG with nice tactical elements, you know, it's so perfect. This is a perfect tactical RPG because there's tons of characters to play as. You can train them. There are different worlds to discover. You have a storyline. It is just an amazing, amazing game. The story is fantastic. The storyline is amazing. The voice acting is fun but well made. This is a perfect game. But there are so many moves to be done. There's so many characters to check out. There's so many worlds to explore. Of course, you have your standard attacks, your standard weapons. If you like tactical RPGs and you have a PlayStation 2 and it works, go for this game. You will not be disappointed because literally there are hundreds of hours of gameplay in this game. If you just like tactical RPGs, you should focus on this game only. If you want to, of course. But it's... The last game that we're going to see in this video is number 51. It is also a game I have in my collection. It is Pokemon Ruby/Sapphire. Yes. That's like the same story with Pac-Man. You have to put a Pokemon game in this top 100. There's just no way to get around it. So they've chosen one and I'm fine with it. I mean, every Pokemon game is fine with me. Not every Pokemon spin-off is good, but you know, the standard Pokemon ideas stays the same. I mean, same gameplay, same characters to check out. Of course, you have your standard Pokemon. You have to catch them all. Obviously, that is the slogan of this game, and you have to catch them all. And you can train them, and you can explore the world you walk in. Pokemon is such a perfect idea for a game that it's almost unsurpassed. You have all kinds of different spin-offs, and there are so many Pokemon games, but the standard Pokemon, the standard Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games, it's just unsurpassed. Pokemon itself, it's such a great idea, and it's not an original idea. I mean, before Pokemon, you had other kinds of anime. I think there was a anime called Monster Hunter. I don't know for sure, but Pokemon isn't the first one. But Pokemon, it's just, of course, not only it's the name, of course, that helps this game into this top 100, but the whole system is so well done. You find these Pokemon, and there's a lot of tactics in the battles you fight. You can't do that like, oh, we're going to fight and we're going to see. No, this is actually a deep RPG. This is a truly rich game. And I'm talking about gameplay-wise. Amazing. This is Pokemon Ruby Sapphire. I've played it. I couldn't get through it, but I had a lot of fun with Pokemon Red and Blue. Obviously, those are my Pokemon games I've played. But Pokemon Ruby Sapphire, amazing. Alright, I really want to thank you guys for watching. This was part 1. This video takes already way too long. That's why I want to break it up into more parts. We're going to check out, in part 2, we're going to check out the next 50 games that are in this book. And the third part, there will be 3 parts. The third part will be more of the book's extras, because there are more games in this book. Not only does it have the top 100 best games ever, there is also a whole bunch of other information, interviews, what Miyamoto is being interviewed, just to name one. There is top 10s of certain genres. You will see in those other parts. Thank you so much for watching. This was the Gaming Christian with the top 100 best video games ever. This book is just amazing. See you guys the next time.